Okay, here's another League of Legends game coming your way, this time with Karthus mid. And this is another one of the entries into the whole week of stomps. Right here I wanted to look at the numbers on Luden's Echo to determine whether or not it'd actually be a good pickup on Karthus to get rid of a different item, and all in all I conclude not really. Well, I think you definitely could do some damage with it due to Q's low cooldown, it's just not something I want to try on Karthus. You have, well, it is a 120 AP item, it's just there are some big things Karthus can do. So right there I grabbed the Skittle move, Lay Waste, using that to scout revision so that I don't get ganked or ambushed right at the very beginning. And even though I'm not going to be able to help with the leash and the, well, here are our matchups. Jinx and Thresh against Blitz and Draven, Warwick in the jungle against Udyr, I'm Karthus mid against Yasuo, and we have Riven top against, I wasn't really paying attention. So yes, I am recording this post-commentary. The reason for that is I wasn't even sure if I was going to follow through with this game because it's a real stomp. So yeah, spoilers of things to come. But even though I can't help with the leash, I can still stand guard for a potential invade. Like, what they're doing in the bot lane isn't really accomplishing much. They're not securing any vision in any which place, and, well, the red buff is kind of up for grabs, as is. So right here is your mouse over the moves, Lay Waste, you target an area on the ground, does some damage to everything there. If you hit a single target, it does double damage. W is Wall of Pain, you slow the enemy and take out a portion of their MR. Your E is Defile, it's a toggle ability, point blank AoE around Karthus. You pay mana every second to keep it up, and does a little bit of damage. It's more noticeable when you have the Wall of Pain debuff on. So I'm going to do pretty well for the first few minions, but then things are going to fall off as Yasuo gets more and more aggressive. He has the advantage for the early game just due to Karthus having so much late game power. Like right there he made sure I couldn't last hit by tanking the shot due to his wind passive. It's not really that much of a loss for him. Since he doesn't have his E yet, he actually can't regenerate his passive too quickly, so he can't do that too often. But once he does get the E, then yes, he can tank some of it to make sure that I can't last hit as easily. And I always hate it when they survive with like 2 hit points. But the main... oh, it's kind of tough. So the main thing for this game is that the bottom lane is going to snowball way out of control. So much so that I become more of like a support, just assisting where I can. So I managed to get the cannon minion, but I messed up, and as a result I couldn't pick off the 1 since the Lay Waste did double damage. Right there, luckily Yasuo didn't block that well. Didn't tank it, I guess, to be more accurate. And right now I just want to last hit as much as possible so I can go ahead and get the tier on this bag. I was thinking about dropping the tier entirely in the build, going for Rod of Ages, and then maybe working in the Luden's Echo in place of the Seraphs. That would lower my tankiness somewhat, since I'd only have the Zhonya's Hourglass. And the other thing that I was looking at is I don't know like if there's a range on the Luden's Echo that I need to worry about, so I'm going to stick to my current build until I can find out more information about the Echo. And the worst part about Karthus this early is without any sort of mana regen item, be it tier or catalyst, you can go out of mana pretty easily. Especially since you don't have any AP to actually last hit accurately with the Lay Waste, you have to rely on whatever you have base. And I've missed the cannon. So we're approaching level 6. One thing that I can tell you is that I was kind of torn about what summoner spell I should take here. Should I go for heal or exhaust? I figured exhaust, I can't usually do the normal Karthus trick where you end up exhausting them so that they can't escape you, because Yasuo has that quarter-second CD dash. So it really cuts into the utility of exhaust. It purely becomes just reducing damage instead of being able to just trap them in your defile.
An enemy has been slain.
So, if you notice, one of the things that I really hate is how some of these characters have free mobility or really, really low cooldown mobility. And it's just creating this huge rift in the classes. You have the haves and the have-nots, and sadly most of your old characters are have-nots. And to make things even worse, it's like, what I think Riot's whole design philosophy is it flashy? As in Zed. Yes, then Zed's perfectly fine. He's balanced in every way, even though he clearly isn't, being able to hop walls, among other things. And what's the wall hop on? Something like a... I should double check that. LeBlanc. It's damn near impossible to pin her down, and Ryan's perfectly fine with that, because she's flashy. Meanwhile, everyone else who isn't flashy, they are stuck in the Nerf bat area. And the other good example of this is Lee Sin, how long it took them to finally do something about that jungler. So right there, I did dodge the tornado. But that's one of my biggest complaints about League at the moment, and why I hate playing the mid lane entirely. Other than just how you're more than likely to get jungler attention, well, enemy jungler attention, you have all these broken mobility characters that you either have to have the rare point-and-click lockdown that's getting phased out of the game, because it's probably the counter to the flashy characters that Riot likes to highlight so much. And instead we have to put up with skill shots. The beautiful part about Yasuo, of course, is that he can wind wall skill shots, which once again furthers that rift between the haves and the have-nots. So right here I think is when Yasuo is going to kill me for the first time. I'm not going to say how many times we actually die, but I am going to get retaliation in a moment. So I did tank a lot of minions, and since I don't have the catalyst at the moment, I don't get any sustain upon leveling up like I would have right there. I didn't have enough gold on that back to pick it up anyway. I only had, what was it, 800, 900, and the catalyst even 1200. So right there he ate a tower shot, not nearly enough to actually slow him down, and right there I have the minions in the ideal spot to last hit with them. Bad news is, due to the mana changes that came in with Season 5, the tier is kind of laughable in its mana regen with only 25%. To put that into context for you, that is the mana regen on a fairy charm. So the whole draw to it is just that you get to stack your maximum mana eventually, but you're good luck recharging that without another item. When you do get to the Seraphs, though, it does get better. So right there I was trying to mash heal so that I could survive that, no dice, but he is going to be running into some problems now since I can go ahead and get the catalyst for even more sustain. And it's going to be that much harder for him to try to whittle me down. And to make things worse, my job is just survive, keep the deaths to a minimum. Sadly, right there, I thought his passive was down, but he got it up in time so that he was able to survive that, if you're wondering what happened. I was kind of hoping Jinx popped that, and that's why I immediately pushed R. But she went ahead and just smashed the bot lane, so she's pushing in the mid. But otherwise, going back to the catalyst, since I get something like 250 to 300 health on every level up, then you factor in the mana regen that comes with that and the tier, it's a little bit harder to kill Karthus here, and it's just going to get worse once I can go ahead and finish the Rod of Ages. So right there, Warwick ulted Yasuo, and this is where I get my sweet revenge. So I went ahead and popped heal for Warwick, and Yasuo might have been able to survive just due to how annoying his dash can be. He'd have to work his way around the lane. And right there, as soon as I saw Udyr, I just left. I didn't want to tank the tower anymore because I knew Warwick was dead, if you're wondering. So right there, I couldn't get the cannon. I don't know if it just died that quickly or what. But I went ahead and burned through about 2/3 of my mana, and I don't have enough to buy a blasting wand if I go back right away. So my option is I could have went back and picked up boots, which would come in handy because there is an Udyr on the field. And lately I wanted to try playing him again since I kind of gave up on him after the first change to the golem. But right here I'd die if I had just stuck around. I needed to go back and heal. So I couldn't go ahead and get the blasting wand, but I got the boots, and I can just go ahead and drop a couple lay wastes here to help stack the tier. Increases my max mana pool, which in turn will help get an early Seraphs, but the way the game plays out, I don't actually go that route. Super Mega Death Rocket whiffs, and sadly I did catch that on camera. Bad news is Requiem is currently down. So another siege minion slips through my fingers, so I get the first dragon, which increases my AP very, very marginally. And here is going to be Yasuo's next death. So right there, Wind Wall is down. That means there's nothing to stop that hook. And File for the win. So right there I dropped the Wall of Pain to try to get Udyr to absorb a couple more hits. Right here, Jinx and I are huddled a little too close together, and as a result she gets grabbed. So being the teammate I am, I want to pretty much hug them. The reason for that is I get to chip away at them, and I do have Requiem up. Hint hint. Bad news is no one seemed to follow up on that at first, but Warwick apparently smelled blood, first figuratively, then literally, and picked off Udyr. Warwick goes down, and then Jinx is going to blow Draven away, giving me another assist. And now I do have the blasting wand to make my Requiem hurt a little bit more. But you can see the exact numbers right there. Jinx has an IE already. Draven, I couldn't see. He has a... I forgot what the cloak is called. But the cloak is a very, very, very bad first item. If you're not aware with how crit works, it doubles your attack power. And you only really want to get crit once you have something worth doubling. Like right now, he doesn't have the BF sword, so what is there to double? A Duran Blade? That's not worth it. I guess he didn't really have enough for the pickaxe, but seriously, he would have been better off holding his money, or there were a bunch of things he could have done. He just chose the worst case scenario. So right there, Blitz dropped in Exhaust to cut into some of my damage, and as a result, Thresh goes ahead and picks up the Yasuo. And I want to get close enough to drop the wall to hopefully pick up an assist, but the way things worked out, I couldn't get the Draven, but Warwick held Blitzcrank down so I could get the easy double damage with my Q. So if you're wondering how the Warwick ganks work for Karthus, he holds them down, then you just start laying waste for double damage, and you can even just drop the wall on them to reduce the MR of the enemy. You can toggle the Defile on, make them sit in it for the entire duration of Infinite Duress. And the best part of all is that Warwick's passive and his ult deal magic damage. So the MR reduction from the Wall of Pain will actually make him hit harder as a result. So right there I dropped the Wall of Pain as disengage. Udyr will not be able to catch us if he runs through that. Meanwhile, on this back I can go ahead and finish the Rod of Ages. We're currently at the 15-minute mark, which is about your normal time. And the other sweet part is I get to go ahead and pick up the tier 2 boots on this back. Of course, if you didn't get tier, then you'd be able to get the Rod of Ages earlier, but for this Karthus build, 15 minutes is the average.
An ally has been slain.
So right there, I can't remember what his passive is called. And it's annoying the hell out of me right now. So once the wind wall was down, I was able to use the Wall of Pain to slow him. As a result, we were able to really tear into his HP, and the tower gets to survive for a little while longer, and he has to go back. Meaning we could try to siege the mid. It's really, really early to do so, but it's kind of an option. Sadly, I didn't get the upgraded ward trinket on that back, so I couldn't increase my vision threshold that much more. We have to sell for just the 1 at the moment. And I think even Udyr knows who's boss at the moment. So I don't have a lot of AP right now, but I kind of wanted to kill this so I could get some gold and EXP. If you notice, I'm right below level 11 for the level 2 Requiem, which I now have. So I didn't think there was that much of a difference in Thresh's speed to mine. I hover over him so you can see the mobility boots, and in retrospect it would have been better for me to go ahead and grab the lantern, just for security. So Jinx goes ahead and gets us the speed shrine. It's ideal for her to go in there since I can just sit back here and Requiem if need be. Plus, I didn't really want to leave Riven alone in the mid lane. I don't remember if she dies here, but there I got to drop the slow on Yasuo, and right there you got to see why I didn't bother with the exhaust on him. He's just going to dash to something and you lose out on the slow. Meanwhile, Riven does survive. If you're wondering what popped the Hex Drinker, it was the magic damage from the Static Shiv. The little electric burst does do 100 damage, I believe, but magic damage, and that will pop Hex Drinkers. So for this back, I'm kind of thinking, do I want to go into the Death Cap, the Seraphs, or the Zhonya's? Normally I think the Zhonya's would probably be the way to go, but due to the bot lane snowballing out of control, I figure I could probably go Seraphs. That'd be like the intermediate between defense and offense, and Death Cap being the almighty offensive option. So I dropped the Requiem to pick off Draven and also secure the team fight for my allies. I get the assist off of the Blitzcrank, and I'm just too far away to actually get there in time, but... Oh yeah, this is a beautiful part. Check out Riven.
Killing spree.
So, poor Thresh. And the Blitz is not happy, or the Thresh is not happy, as you can read. So I don't exactly fault Riven for that, because if nothing else, that might have been something to try to encourage them to keep playing, and this would not be a 20-minute surrender. Right there, since I wasn't commentating, I'm a little bit more sarcastic than my normal. Sadly, Karthus isn't exactly a skeleton anymore, but he's still kind of withered enough to where I think it counts. I don't know if the Wall of Pain actually cuts into their MR, that's why I dropped it anyway, just in case. And right here, it's kind of tricky for me to take this from Kennen, because he can stand close enough to my lay waist to make sure that I can't do the double damage, while he gets to deal full damage with his abilities. And as a result, that was pretty easy for him to take, but the important thing is, it's not on Udyr. Udyr does have mana problems from time to time, so just keeping that off of him will slow him down somewhat. It's already good enough for us that he's having a pretty rough game so far. Right here, I was just a little curious on what Warwick went for. He went for Skirmisher's Devourer. So I do have a little bit of help for a late game power, beyond just the Jinx. But otherwise, with the whole Devourer, the Karthus, and the Jinx, really the enemy is doomed already because we're just going to keep getting that much stronger. This would be like they'd have to have the advantage right now to start taking objectives, get a gold lead, and just use that to deal with our superior scaling. Instead, Draven lost his laning phase. The early game AD carry is now in recovery mode, and there's just not that much he can do. So right here I'm wondering, is this a trap? Is a Yordle going to come rushing out of the brush with his Maelstrom going to pick me off? And sadly that's not how I'm going to die the second time. Although the second time it is something that I choose, so not the end of the world. And here was the cannon that I was anticipating. So I dropped the wall to slow him, take out some of his MR, and then I put up the Defile, so if he wanted to go in, he was going to pay a good amount of health to do so. Bad news is that does mean my wall was on cooldown when we kind of needed it right there. And I do have the option of popping the Requiem right now, but I didn't think he was worth it. So I just waited till the wall came off cooldown and then picked him off with a lay waste. That did give me the blue buff that I couldn't get earlier if you didn't notice, by the way. So Draven goes ahead and goes in to cash out. Sadly that stand aside was really well aimed. And as a result I can't pick him off. Riven has to secure that for me. But at this point, I'm getting closer and closer to the death cap, and that's just going to increase the Requiem damage all the more. And there's really nothing Udyr can do here, because if he tries something, Jinx and Riven have the ability to hold him in place. My Wall of Pain is going to lock him down, or take away his movement speed, while Thresh can then hook him. And then this happens. And here comes death number 2, since I decided to tank the tower for the Udyr kill, and I did not use my heal. Had I used the heal, I would have been fine, but yeah. So I dropped the wall there, some method to try to secure an assist, and if nothing more, provide a little bit of disengage for my team, but did nothing for Jinx. So right here I have to make the call, do I want the shield to just last a little bit longer, or do I want more power? And if you want to know, we're ditching the potion because we're going for more power. Of course at this point I always do have the option to change gears and then still make the Seraphs and use the Needless for Azonias, but the writing's on the wall, there's really no hope for them. Right here we're just toying with them until we can finish them off. After the Shin game, I didn't think you guys wanted me to draw this out for a 5-dragon win. So I don't exactly know what Yasuo wanted to do there, but Jinx went to the other side of the wall, and then Super Mega Death Rocket. And she tried to take a good portion of my CS. Bad Jinx, bad. So I went ahead and picked up the trinket. I need to actually get my money's worth and secure some vision for the team. The one by our red buff wasn't really necessary, but it does kind of help us keep an eye out for pink wards in case someone tried to pull a quick one. But Draven gets to cash out, I went back for the death cap, and now the Requiem is going to be a little painful. Tier is maxed, you can see the Requiem damage right there, about 600 something. And I just want to notify my team when the ult is coming up in case we can make plays and coordinate. So you don't always have to use Requiem to secure the kill. You can use that to just nuke a bunch of people in the team fight. 5 assists are just as good as getting 1 or 2 kills, especially if your team can follow up and take some objectives afterwards. So right here I didn't want to chase the Draven off, but sadly with his whole blood rush he was able to get out of range from the death sentence, and he lives to suck another day. So Udyr picked off Riven, and they're starting to No, they're not starting to get back into the game, but we want to give them the impression that there is still hope. Because we're evil like that. Shadow Islands for the win. If only we had Hecarim and Mordekaiser here with us. And I guess Callista too, since the Shadow Islands finally got an 80 carry. I don't count Mordekaiser as 80 carry, even though he does have 180 ratio. So right here I'm using the lay waste double damage to eat away at this. With the death cap I really am taking it much more quickly, and you can see that Thresh isn't really taking too much damage. Jinx goes ahead and secures it with the zap, that's fine, since she's so fed. The zap, I don't remember if that's like a 1.1 AD ratio or 1.2, but she has enough AD to where that's not something you can take lightly. So right there I'm notifying my team that I have ult in case they want to make a play somewhere else. Even though I won't be there in person, I can still do a good amount of damage for this stage of the game. And once I get a couple more items, then you can pretty much take out half the enemy team's HP. So I'm moving the wards to give me some security so I can push this into the inhibitor turret. And from here, I just have to keep an eye out where's the pressure going to be directed. And right here, I wanted to try to get an assist off Udyr, but they killed him that quickly.
Killing spree.
So the mid lane has been opened up. Didn't want to die to the turret again, even though this time would have been an execute, but I get to clear the wave and more gold. Sadly, since I burned Requiem, I can't use that as a deterrent. Make them realize if you want to continue this chase, you gotta pay half your health. But I went ahead and picked up the Seekers. That's going to give me a little bit of armor, and as a result, that'll give me more protection from some of Kennan's auto attack damage, including his W passive, I believe. The Yasuo stuff, the Udyr stuff that isn't Phoenix related, and even Draven. So all around it's pretty nice. Speaking of Draven, there he is. And I need to get here to save my Shadow Island companion. And he embraced his fate in the end. Sadly, Jinx is in a bit of a tricky spot. But that just means more time for Karthus to shine, right?
Godlike.
Plus, it's always kind of funny to see the big bounty going to the support. So with the second dragon under our belt, we're able to do increased damage to the towers. It's not a lot, but it does add up, especially when you have a lot of people there to deal the damage. And here is the end of the game, so we're about 1 minute away. Oh yeah, this part's pretty good. So, I'm the only guy with health. I'm telling my team, get the hell out, guys. Wall, of course, for disengage. Warwick goes in. And since Draven has no MR, Warwick and I do a number on him. Bad news is, he kind of dies to Blitz, and my team, the enemy team wants my allies. They're kind of ignoring me and standing in Defile. So I just aim a lay waste, down goes Blitz. Right there I was expecting Udyr to be faster, but new wall, no MR means another lay waste for a double. And I burned through most of my mana, but I still get the assist off Yasuo, and I just need to go back and buy, and then I can have a pretty nasty Requiem waiting. So anticipating a potential Requiem, I went ahead and sold the ring for the needlessly large rod. Right here I just have to look, do they need the help? Thresh lives, kind of. If you want to call what he does living, that is. But that's a philosophical debate for another time. So right here, the game's ending, so I'm dropping the Requiem. Draven somehow survived, but I wasn't really planning on killing him. But there, I got the Hourglass, and that's GG. So this was Karthus mid. Jinx got it with a pair of rockets. Thoughts and observations go in the description.